All right. Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Barden here. Just a few quick little introductory things before we dive into it. This is going to be a hopefully pretty quick video. So, if you're not familiar with how I tend to do things, I like to do them, essentially live, so you're getting almost like the real classroom experience when you watch these videos. What I'm going to be going over today is including the Tone.js library into your P5 sketches. So I'll go over that and then just how to load up a sound file and play it back. This should, again, be fairly simple, but I'm just going to break down all the steps. I do want to say that, if you enjoy the video or you learn something, feel free to give it all the like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. It does help out whenever people do that. Other than that, if you look in the description down below, you'll see a few helpful links. You have one to the code that I will be building in this video right here, as well as one to this page where you can copy this line of text in order to load the P5 or not P5 the Tone.js library, as well as some links to other videos and resources that might be helpful for you. All right, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So what I've got right here is a just default P5 sketch. I haven't done anything to it. What we need to do though is attach the Tone.js library to this sketch. So in order to do that, we just have to tell the program where to find the library. So if you head to, again, the link is in the description, this page and the online textbook for this programming course, this HTML line right here. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. I have a separate video that you can find in that playlist below about how, why and how, and, loading in libraries. But the important thing to know is that you need to copy this, this command right here. This tells the computer to do something. In this case, go to this URL and use the code. So I'm just going to copy it, copy to clipboard, and then I'm going to go into the HTML file, and this is where I just want to stress the process. You'll notice very similar scripts right here that tell the code to do several things. There's this one here on line 5 that has a source for the P5 sound library. This is the library that P5 normally has for handling all things related to sound. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. I just prefer using tone for this class. The reason for it is essentially P5 sound is built using the Tone.js library, so it's a little bit more of an abstraction for what you can do. So by using just tone instead of P5 sound, you can, in my opinion, get some much more uh, detailed results. You don't have to work around libraries that other people have made. You can just work with the core unit there, and I think it's a little bit clearer exactly how you're achieving X, Y, and Z. So we have that there. So normally you would just add in the script, but instead you just have to replace what's on line 5 of the default file with the one we copied. And now instead of looking at P5 sound, our sketch will look at Tone.js. So once you've pasted that in there, we can hop in. So there's a few things that we need to do in order to play our sound. The first one is to have a sound to play. So I've got this one right here that we're going to use for this video. I'm just going to play it real quick. There it is. And we're going to load that into... let's do that. We're going to load this into our sketch. So I left this open on purpose. We have our sketch files. So in order to load these in, we can just right here on this little triangle, click it. We have a few options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder and call it sounds. You can call it whatever you want, but I made this folder right here. And then you can see it just appears right here in alphabetical order. So what we can do, if there's nothing in it, so we can't see it, but if you click this little triangle next to it, we can add a file into there. So this window pops up. You can drag and drop your files or go through all the navigation to find them. I happen to have it pulled up right over here on my other monitor. So I'm going to load that in right there. Now, I do want to stress that I think it's a little bit better to upload your files when you can. If your sketch has a lot of sound files, um, then you may want to find a way to host them online. I'm not going to go over that into this video, but essentially, when we start loading in the sounds, if your audio is hosted on some other server, you can just put a link to that audio file and it will find it on the internet and play it there. Because a P5 account has a fairly limited amount of storage built into it already. So if you have a lot of sound files or a lot of large sound files, a lot of the ones I have in the link below are fairly small, just to help with that. Um, but if you fill up the storage, you're gonna have to delete stuff to make some space. So again, you want to minimize how much you have loaded into the sketch, but it does make life a little bit easier. So I've got that there. The one other thing I'm going to do is we have the name of the file right here. I'm just going to rename this something that's just a little faster to type. I'm just going to call it popcorn. Um, so we have that right there. So let's jump right into it. So basically, again, if you wanted to pull up all of this on on the textbook and kind of go through it, I've got this chapter on sound, and you can kind of go through everything, and there's just how sound generally works with computers, all that kind of stuff. But there's a whole section on what I'm gonna go with right now. So it's pretty straightforward, but we're going to just kind of go through it bit by bit in order to build up this this thing. Anyways, so let's just jump right into it. So the first thing we need to do is create an object that's going to be our sound player. This isn't really an up-to-date metaphor, but if you've ever had an MP3 player, a CD player, things like that, you have a device that plays the sound file. That's what we're kind of equating this to. Um, so I'm going to make a player. I'm just going to make it globally so we can talk to it in all of our functions for various reasons I'll get into in a second. So this player is going to become a new tone.player object. And we have that right there. What we need to do, though, is tell it where to find the sound file to play. So there's different ways we can do this. What I like to do is say let popcorn equals essentially store the location of the file in a variable. I just think it makes it a little bit easier to read in your code. So if you look in our sketch files, we can see that as a string we can have our sounds folder / popcorn.mp3. If your folder, if your file was located somewhere else, you would maybe have a different file. If it wasn't in a folder, you wouldn't have the folder name /. If it was online, you would put the URL right here. But now we can just put in the name of our sound here, popcorn. There we go. And now the tone player will find the sound located in our sketch. So that's the first part. We have now uploaded a sound to P5 and stored it in a player to play it back. We now just have to manage to play it back. So there's 2 steps, and I'm going to set this up in a certain way. The first one is I'm just going to say function key pressed, and I know I typoed there. There we are. And basically, I'm just going to set this up so that whenever I press the space bar, I'll make it easy, we get the sound that gets played. So if key code, there we are. Not key code. We want it key code is equal to 32, because that's 32 is the ASCII code for the spacebar. We're going to say player.start. So start is the method that plays the sound file loaded into player. Um, and that's essentially that. Now there's a reason I want to specifically trigger this in function key pressed. But we'll get to that in just a second. There's a bigger thing I want to point out first. So let's run the code. Did I miss? Yep. Oh, it's a capital P. It's like I thought that was player. There we go. So I have the code here. Look at there. But nothing is happening. I'm hitting the space bar. I got it super clicky, so you can probably hear it. Nothing's happening. Don't be confused, though. The sound file is playing. We just haven't connected anything. So again, thinking back to the MP3 player metaphor, if you unplug the headphones and you press play, well, it's going to play, but you're not hearing it. You're not sending the audio to the headphones to do all that. So there's a few different ways we can do this. I'm going to do this a little bit redundantly. There's some extra typing going on here, but I just think it makes it extra clear what's going on. So we can say the player, the name of our object, dot what we want it to do, and what we're going to just say is to destination. So the way this is set up is now we are taking the audio playback and we are sending it to the final destination. In this case, the output speakers of the computer. So now we should hear the same file when I press the spacebar. There we go. It's always terrifying the first time you play it if it doesn't work and you're just kind of ad-libbing. But anyways, we can now hear the file. This will be something that's very useful because, again, we can route this audio to different things. So we can use the connect method. If we wanted to add extra effects and processing and things like that. That's not what I'm going to get into in this video, but you can. I do want to point out one thing, though, and that is you do not want to have a start command to play back a sound in the draw function, like ever. I never say if you do it this way you're wrong in my coding classes, but I'm going to say it for this. If you have a player.start in the draw function in P5, you have more than likely messed up somewhere. The reason for that is because every time this gets triggered, it's going to start the playback over and over again. Or it's going to start it when it gets triggered. And in the draw function, that's going to loop over and over again. Depends on your internet connection, but I think mine's right about 60 times a second. So if I put this here in the draw function, I'm just going to comment this out for now. There we are. So I'm going to play this, and it's going to be a little loud, so I'm warning you now. If you're watching with headphones, maybe turn the volume down. So I'm just going to press the space bar. I only let it go for just a second, because it is very loud. So what that sound is 60 times every second this sound file is starting. That's a problem because you don't hear the sound file. Whereas in this case, key pressed only triggers one time whenever a key is pressed. So I can hit a button, nothing happens, but as soon as I hit the space bar, it triggers the sound one time. That's the key takeaway is once you've loaded your sound, set it up so you can hear it, you only want to trigger it once whenever you want to trigger it. If you try to do it more than that, you're going to get that very loud, noisy, feedbacky, just crunchy noise of the sound starting over again and again and again. And it's not, I can almost guarantee it's not what you're looking for. But again, maybe that's what you're looking for. I don't want to talk in absolutes there, but in my experience, generally speaking, that is what happens. So I'm just going to add this last bit right here. Divided by 2. Boop. And then we'll say press space bar to play the sound. I think I got these in the wrong order. There we go. All right, and then I'll just say up here, adding the last bit, text align, center. There we are. Just so that way anyone who looks at this after the fact knows what's going on. So that's basically it. We've loaded in a sound, we've stored that sound in a player, and we can trigger the playback of that sound whenever we want. Again, it's just a very generic application, but when you're starting to combine this into your own projects, you can utilize this however you want. Maybe as a separate function, maybe as a callback when something else happens, it plays a sound effect. Or whenever you're clicking the mouse or something on the canvas happens. This process of just loading it into a tone dot player and then calling the dot start command is how you load in sounds and play them using tone, even if you're not in P5. Um, so that's basically it for this video. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments below. I love answering questions when they come around. If you learned something, give it a like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll wrap it up here. I'll see you all next time that I see you.